Welcome to my channel Freedom Sky. The Power of Positive Thinking, Chapter 2 by Dr. Vincent Peale. A peaceful mind generates power. At breakfast in a hotel dining room, three of us fell to discussing how well we had slept the night before. A truly momentous topic. One man complained of a sleepless night. He had tossed and turned and was about as exhausted as when he retired. Guess I had better stop listening to the news before going to bed, he observed. I turned in last night and sure got an earful of travel. This is quite a phrase, an earful of travel. Little wonder he had a disturbed night. Maybe the coffee I drunk before retiring had something to do with it. He must. The other man spoke up. As for me, I had a grand night. I got my news from the evening paper and from an early broadcast and had a chance to digest it before I went to sleep. Of course, he continued, I used my go-to-sleep plan, which never fails to work. I credited him for his plan, which he explained as follows. While I was a boy, my father, a farmer, had the habit of gathering the family in the parlor at bedtime, and he read to us out of the Bible. I can hear him yet. In fact, every time I hear those Bible verses, I always seem to hear them in the tone of my father's voice. After prayers, I would go up to my room and sleep like a top. But when I left home, I got away from the Bible reading and prayer habit. I must admit that for years, practically the only time I ever prayer was when I got into a jam. Because some months ago, my wife and I, having a number of difficult problems, decided we would try it again. We found it a very helpful practice. So now, every night before going to bed, she and I together read the Bible and have a little session of prayer. I don't know what they are about it, but I have been sleeping better and things have improved all down the line. In fact, I find it so helpful that even out on the road as I am now, I still read the Bible and pray. Last night, I got into bed and read the 23rd Psalm. I read it out loud and it did me a lot of good. He turned to the other man and said, I didn't go to bed with an ear full of trouble. I went to sleep with a mind full of peace. Well, there are two cryptic phrases for me. An ear full of trouble and a mind full of peace. Which does he choose? The essence of the secret lies in a change of mental attitude. One must learn to live on a different thought basis, and even though thought change requires effort, it is much easier than to continue living as you are. The life of strain is difficult. The life of inner peace, being harmonious and without stress, is the easiest type of existence. The chief struggle then in gaining mental peace is the effort of reviving youth thinking to the relaxed attitude of acceptance of God's gift of peace. As an illustration of taking a relaxed attitude and therefore receiving peace, I always think of an experience in a certain city where I lectured one evening. Prior to going on the platform, I was sitting backstage going over my speech when a man approached and wanted to discuss a personal problem. I informed him that at the moment I was impossible to talk as I was just about to be introduced and asked him to wait. While speaking, I noticed him in the winging nervously pitching up and down. But afterward, he was nowhere about. However, he had given me his card, which indicated that he was a man of considerable influence in this city. Back of my hotel, although it was late, I was still troubled by this man, so I telephoned her. He was surprised to my call and explained that he did not wait because obviously I was busy. I just wanted you to pray with you. He said, I thought if you would pray with me, perhaps I could get some peace. There is nothing to prevent us from praying together on the telephone right now, I said. Somewhat in surprise, he replied, I had never heard of praying on the telephone. Why not? I asked. A telephone is simply a gadget of communication. You are some blocks from me. But by means of the telephone, we are together. Besides, I continued, the Lord is with each of us. He is at both ends of this line and in between. He is with you and he is with me. All right, be concerned. I would like to have you pray for me. So I closed my eyes and prayed for the man over the telephone, and I prayed just as though we are in the same room. We could hear and the Lord could hear. When I finished, I suggested, Wouldn't you pray? There was no response. Then, at the other end of the line, I heard sobbing, and finally I can't talk. He said, Go on and try for a minute or two, and then pray. I suggested. Simply tell the Lord everything that is bothering you. I assume there is a private line, but if that is bothering you, I assume there is a private line, but if not, and if everybody is listening, it will not matter. As far as anyone is concerned, we are just a couple of voices. Nobody would know it is you and I. Thus encouraged, he started to pray, hesitantly at first, and then with great impetuosity he poured out his heart, and it was filled with hate, frustration, failure, a mass of it. Finally he prayed plaintively, Dear Jesus, I have a lot of nerve to ask you to do anything for me because I never did anything for you. I guess you know what a no account I am. Even though I put on a big front, I am sick of all this, dear Jesus. Please help me. So I prayed again and asked the Lord to answer answered his prayer, then said, Lord, at the other end of the telephone, I have placed your hand on my friend and give him each. Help him now to gird himself and accept your gift of peace. Then I stopped, and there was a rather long pause, and I shall never forget the tone in his voice as I heard him say, I shall always remember this experience, and I want you to know that for the first time in months I feel clean inside and happy and peaceful. This man employed a simple technique for having a peaceful mind. He emptied his mind and he received peace as a gift from God. As a physician said, many of my patients have nothing wrong with them except their hearts. So I have a favorite prescription that I wrote for some, but it is not a prescription that you can fill at a drugstore. The prescription I write is a verse for the Bible, Romans. I do not write out these verses for my patient. I make them look it up, and it reads, Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind to be happier and healthier. They need a renewing of their minds. That is a change in the pattern of their thoughts. When they take this prescription, they actually achieve a mind full of peace that helps produce health and well-being. A primary method for gaining a mind full of peace is to practice emptying the mind. This will be emphasized in another chapter, but I mention it here to underscore the importance of the frequent mental practice. I recommended a mind empty at least twice a day. More often if necessary. Definitely practice emptying your mind of fears, hates, insecurities, regrets, and guilt feelings. The very fact that you consciously make this effort to empty your mind tends to give relief. Haven't you experienced a sense of release when you have been able to pour out to somebody whom you can trust worrisome matter that lay heavy upon the heart? As a pastor, I have often observed how much it means to people to have someone to whom they can truly and in confidence tell everything troubling their minds. I conducted a religious service on board the SS line on a recent voyage to Honolulu. In the course on my talk, I suggested that people who are carrying worries in their minds might go to the stern of the vessel and imaginatively take such an anxious thought out of the mind, drop it overboard, and watch it disappear in the wake of the ship. It seems an almost childlike suggestion, but a man came to me later that day and said, I did as you suggested, and am amazed at the relief it has given me. During these voyages, he said, every evening at sunset I am going to drop all my worries overboard until I develop the psychology of casting them entirely out of my consciousness. day I shall watch this disappear in the great ocean of time. Doesn't the Bible say something about forgetting those things that are behind? The man to whom this suggestion applied is not an impractical sentimentalist. On the contrary, he is a person of extraordinary mental stature, an outstanding leader in his field. Of course, emptying the mind is not enough. When the mind is emptied, something is bound to enter. The mind couldn't long remain a vacuum. You cannot go around permanently with an empty mind. I admit that some people seem to embellish and fit, but by and large it is necessary to refill the impaired mind or the old. Unhappy thoughts which you have cast out will come seeking in again. To prevent that happening, immediately start filling your mind with creative and healthy thoughts. Then, when the old fears, hates, and worries that have haunted you for so long try to engage back in, they will in effect find a sign on the door of your mind reading occupied. They may struggle for admission, for having lived in your mind for a long time. They feel at home here, but the new and healthy thoughts which you have taken in will now be stronger and better fortified, and therefore able to repulse them. Presently, the old thoughts will give up although and leave you alone. You will permanently enjoy a mind full of peace. And intervals during the day practicing thinking a carefully selected series of peaceful thoughts. Let mental pictures of the most peaceful scenes you have ever witnessed pass across your mind, as for example some beautiful valley filled with the hush of evening time as the shadows lengthen and the sun sinks to rest, or recall the silvery light of the moon falling upon rippling waters, or remember the sea washing gently upon soft shores of sand. Such peaceful thoughts, images will work upon your mind as a healing medicine. So now and then during every day allow motion picture of peace slowly to cross your mind. Practice the technique of suggestion or articulation, that is, repeat audibly some peaceful words. Words have profound suggestion power, and there is healing in the very saying of them. Utter a series of panic words, and your mind will immediately go into a mild state of nervousness. You will perhaps feel a sinking in the pit of your stomach that will affect your entire physical mechanism. If, on the contrary, you speak peacefully, quite inquires, your mind will react in a peaceful manner. Use such a word as tranquility. Repeat the word slowly several times. Tranquility is one of the most beautiful and melodic of the English words that the very saying of it tends to induce a tranquil state. Another healing word is serenity. Picturize serenity is as you say it. Repeat it slowly and in the mood of which the word is assembled. Words such as these have a healing potency when used in this manner. It is also helpful to use lines from poetry or phrases from the scriptures. A man of my acquaintance who achieved a remarkable feat of mind has the habit of writing on cards unusual quotations expressing peacefulness. He carries one of the cards in his wallet at all times, refilling to it frequently until each quotation is committed to memory. He says that each such idea dropped into the subconscious lubricates his mind with pitch. A peaceful concept is indeed oil on traveled horse. One of the quotations which he used in form of a 16th century mystic, let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you, everything passes away except God, but Allah is sufficient. The words of the Bible have a particularly strong therapeutic value. Drop them into your mind, allowing them to dissolve in consciousness, and they will spread a healing balm over your entire mental structure. This is one of the simplest process to perform and also one of the most effective in attaining peace of mind. A salesman told me of an incident that took place in a Middlestone hotel room. He was one of a group of businessmen having a conference. One man was very much on a beat. He was snappy, argumentative, high stuck. Everyone present knew him quite well and realized he was under great nervous pressure. But finally, his irritating attitudes began to get on everyone's nerves. Presently, this nervous individual opened his traveling bag, took out a bag bottle of blackish-looking medicine, and crowded himself a large dose. Asked what this medicine was, he told, "Oh, it's something of nervous. I feel like I am going to break to pieces. The pressure I am under makes me wonder if I am going to back up. I try not to show it, but I suppose even you fellows have observed several bottles of it, but don't seem to get any better." The other man laughed. Then one said in a kindly manner, "Bill, I don't know anything about the medicine you are taking. Maybe it's alright. It probably is, but I can give you some medicine for those nerves that will do you more good than that. I know, because it killed me, and I was worse off than you are." "What is the medicine?" snapped another. "This book will do the job, and I really mean it. I suppose you think it is strange that I carry a Bible around in my bag, but I don't care who knows it. I am not a bit ashamed of it. I have been carrying the Bible in my bag for the past 2 years, and I have marked pages in it that help keep my mind at peace. It works for me, and I think it can do something for you too. Why not give it a trial?" The other were listening with interest to this unusual piece. The nervous man had sunk low in his chair, Seeing that he was making an impressive, the speaker continued. I had a peculiar experience in a hotel one night which got me into the habit of reading the Bible. I was getting into a pretty tense state. I was out on a business trip and late one afternoon came up to my room terribly nervous. I tried to write some letters but couldn't get my mind on them. I paced up and down the room, tried to read paper, but that annoyed me. So I decided to go down and get a drink, anything to get away from myself. While standing by the dresser, my eye happened to fall upon a Bible lying there. I had seen many such Bibles in hotel rooms, but had never read any of them. However, something impelled me, and I opened the book in one of the Psalms and started to read. I remember that I read that one standing up, then sit down and read another. I was interested but certainly surprised at myself. Me reading the Bible, it was allowed, but I kept on reading. Soon I came on the 23rd page. I had learned that one as a boy in Sunday school and was surprised that I still knew most of it by heart. I tried to say it over, especially that line where it says, "He leadeth me beside the still water. He restored my soul." I liked that line. It sort of got me. I sat there repeating it over and over, and the next time I knew I woke up. Apparently, I had dropped off to sleep and slept soundly. I slept only about 15 minutes, but upon awaking was as refreshed, as rested as if I had had a good night's sleep. I can remember yet the wonderful feeling of complete refreshment. Then I realized that I feel peaceful and said to myself, "Isn't it strange? What is wrong with me that I have missed something as wonderful as this?" So after this experience, he said, "I got a Bible, a little one I could put in my bag, and I have been carrying it even since. I honestly like to read it, and I am not nearly so nervous as I used to be." So he added, "Try that too and see if it doesn't work." He did try it, and he kept on trying it. He reported that it was a bit strange and difficult for him at first, and he read the Bible on the sly when nobody was around. He didn't want to be brought holy and pious, but now he says he brings it out on trains and planes or any old place and reads it, and it does him a world of good. "I no longer need to take nerves medicines," he declared. This scheme must have worked in his case, for he is easy to get along with now. His emotions are under control. These two men found that getting peace of mind isn't complicated. You merely feed your mind with thoughts that cause it to be peaceful. To have a mind full of peace, merely feel it full of peace. It's as simple as that. There are other practical ways by which you can develop serenity and quiet attitudes. One way is to use conversation depending upon the words we use and the tone in which we use them. We can talk ourselves into being nervous, high-strung, and upset. We can talk ourselves into either negative or positive result. By our speech, we can also achieve quiet reaction of peaceful to be peaceful. In a group, when the conversation takes a turn that is upsetting, try injecting peaceful ideas into the talk. Note how it counter-reacts the nervous system. Conversation filled with compressions of unhappy expectation at breakfast, for example, often sets the tone of the day. Little older things turn out according to the unhappy specification. Negative conversation adversely affected circumstances. Certainly, talk of the tense and nervous nature and hence inner agitation. On the contrary, start each day by affirming peaceful, contented, and happy attitudes, and your days will tend to be pleasant and successful. Such attitudes are achieved and definite factors in creating satisfactory conditions. Watch your manner of speech, then if you wish to develop a peaceful state of mind. It is important to eliminate from conversations all negative ideas, for that tend to produce tension and annoyance inwardly. For example, when you are with a group of people at lunch on, do not comment that the communists will soon take over the country. In the first place, communities are not going to take over the country, and by so asserting, you create a distressing reaction in the minds of others. It undoubtedly affects digestions adversely. The depressing remark colored the attitude of all present, and everyone goes away with a perhaps slight but defined feeling of annoyance. They also carry away with them a mild but defined feeling that something is wrong with everything. There are times when we must face this harsh question and deal with them objectively and vigorously, and no one has more contempt for communism than I have. But as a general thing, to have peace of mind, fill your personal and group conversation with positive, optimistic, satisfying expressions. The words we speak have a direct and definite effect upon our thoughts. Thoughts create words, for words are the vehicles of ideas. But words also affect thoughts and help to condition, if not to create attitudes. In fact, what often phases of thinking starts with thought. Therefore, if the average conversation is limited and disciplined, to be sure that it contains peaceful expressions, the result will be peaceful ideas and ultimately, therefore, a peaceful mind. Another effective technique is developing a peaceful mind is daily practice of science. Everyone should investigate upon not less than a quarter of an hour of absolute quiet every 24 hours. Go alone into the quietest place available to you and sit or lie down for 15 minutes and practice the art of silence. Do not talk to anyone, do not write, do not read. Think as little as possible. Throw your mind into neutral concept of your mind as quietest, inactive. This will not be easy at first because thoughts are stirring up your mind, but practice will increase your efficiency. Conceive of your mind as the surface of the body of water and see how nearly quite you can make it so that there is not a ripple. When you have attained a quietest stage, then begin to listen for the deeper sound of harmony and beauty and of thought that are to be found in the entrance of silence. Americans unfortunately are not skilled in this practice, which is a pity, for as Thomas Charles said, silence is the element in which great things fashion themselves. This generation of Americans has missed something that our forefathers knew and which helps to condition their character, and that is the silence of the great forest or of the far-reaching plains. Perhaps our lack of inner peace is due to some extent to the effect of noise upon the nervous system of modern people. Scientific experiments shows that noise is the place where we work, live, or sleep reduces efficiency to a noticeable degree, contrary to popular belief. It is doubtful if we ever completely against our physical, mental, or nervous mechanism to noise, no matter how familiar a repeated sound becomes. It never passes unheard by the subconscious. Automobile horns, the roar of aeroplane, and the other student noise actually result in physical activities during sleep. Implants transmitted to and through the nerves by this sound cause muscular movements which distract from real rest. If the reaction is sufficient severe, it partakes of the nature of shock. On the contrary, silence is a healing, soothing, healthy practice. Started says, no man or woman of my acquaintances who knows how to practice silence, and thus it has ever been sick to my knowledge. I have noticed that my own afflictions come down me when I do not balance in expressions with relaxation. Start daily closely associates silence with spiritual healing. The sense of rest that results from a practice of complete silence is a therapy of utmost value. In the circumstances of modern life, with its acceleration of speech, the practice of silence is admittedly not so simple as it was in the days of our forefather. A vast number of noise-producing gadgets exist that they do not know, and our daily program is more achieve speech has been integrated in the modern world, and apparently we are also attempting to integrate the possible for an individual to work in deep woods or sit by the sea or meditate on the mountain top or on the deck of a vessel in the midst of the ocean. But when we do have such experiences, we can bring up the mind the picture of the silence place and the feel of the moment and return to it in memory to live it over again just as truly as when we are actually at the scenes. In fact, when we return to it in memory, the mind tends to remove any unpleasant factors present in the actual situation. The memory visit is often an improvement over the actual, for the mind tends to reproduce only the beauty in the remembered scenes. For example, as I write these words, I was on a balcony of one of the most beautiful hotels in the world, the Royal Pavilion of the Frank and Romantic Wiki Beach in Honolulu, Hawaii. I am looking into a garden filled with grateful plum trees swaying in the gloomy beach. The air is blended with the aroma of exotic flowers, hibiscus, of which of these islands there are 2,000 varieties. Fill the garden. Outside my windows are papaya trees landed with ripening fruits. The brilliant color of the royal poinsettia, the flame of the forest trees adds to the glamour of the scene, and the acacia trees are used heavily with their executing with wildflowers. The incredible blue ocean surrounding this island stretches away to the horizon. The white waves are sucking in, and the Hawaiians and my fellow visitors are riding gratefully on surfboards and outrigger cones. Altogether, it is a sense of entertaining beauty. It has an indescribably healing effect upon me as I sit here writing about the power generated in a peaceful mind. The insistence responsibilities under which I ordinarily live seem to so far away. Though I am in Hawaii to give a series of lectures to and to write this book, nevertheless the peace with which this place is filled enveloped me. Yet I realize that when I have returned to my home in New York, 5,000 miles away, I shall only then trustfully savor the exquisite joy of the beauty which I now behold. It will become enshrined in memory as a private retreat to which my mind can go in the busy days that lie ahead. Often, when far from this idyllic place, I shall return in memory to find peace along the plumb lines foams washed beach at Waikiki. Fill your mind with all peaceful experiences, positive, then make planned and deliberate excursions to them in memory. You must learn that the earliest way to an easy mind is to create an easy mind. Make planned and deliberate executions to them in memory. You must learn that the earliest way to to an easy mind is to create an easy mind. This is done to an easy mind is to create an easy mind. This is done by practice by the application of some such simple principles as outlines here. The mind quickly responds to teaching and discipline. You can make the mind give you back anything you want, but remember the mind can give back only what it was first given. Saturate your thoughts with peaceful experiences, peaceful words and ideas, and ultimately we will have a storehouse of producing experiences to which you may turn for refreshment and renewal of your spirit. It will be a vast source of power. I spent a night with a friend who has a very lovely home. We had breakfast in a unique and interesting dining room. The four walls are painted is a beautiful mural picturing the countryside in which my host was reared as a boy. It is a panorama of rolling hills, gentle valleys, and singing streams, the latter clean and sun-pickled and blumbing over rocks. Winding roads meander through pleasant meadows. Little houses dot the landscape. In a central position is a white church surmounted by a tall steeple. As we breakfasted, my host talked at his region of his youth, pointing out various points of interest in the painting around the wall. Then he said, often as I sit in this dining room, I go from point to point in my memory and relive other days. I recall, for example, walking up that line as a boy with bare feet, and I can remember yet how the clean dust fell between my toes. I remember fishing in that frost stream on many a summer afternoon and coasting down those hills in the winter time. There is the church I attended as a boy. He grinned and said, I sat through many a long sermon in that church, but gratefully recall to mind the kindliness of the people and the sincerity of their lives. I can sit here and look at the church and think of the hymns I heard there with my mother and father as we sat together in the pew. There are long buried in that cemetery alongside the church, but in memory I go and stand by their graves and hear them speak to me as in days gone by. I got very tired and sometimes am nervous and tensed. It helps to sit here and go back to the days when I had an untraveled mind, when life was new and fresh. It does something for me. It gives me peace. Perhaps we all cannot have such murals on the dining room walls, but you can put them around the wall of your mind. Picture of the most beautiful experiences in your life. Spend time along the thoughts which these pictures suggest. No matter how busy you may be or what responsibilities you carry, this simple, rather unique practice, having proved successful in many instances, may have a beneficial effect upon you. It is an easily practiced, easy way to a peaceful mind. There is a factor in the matter of inner peace which may be started because of its importance. Frequently, I find that people who are lacking in inner peace are victims of a self-punishment mechanism. At some time in their experience, they have committed a sin and the sense of guilt haunts them. They have sincerely sought divine forgiveness, and the good Lord will forgive anyone who asks Him and who means it. However, there is a curious quirk within the human mind whereby sometimes an individual will not forgive himself. He feels that he deserves punishment and therefore is constantly anticipating that punishment. As a result, he lives in a constant apprehension that something is going to happen. In order to find peace under these circumstances, he must increase the intensity of his activity. He feels that hard work will give him some release from his sense of guilt. A physician told me that in his practice, a number of cases of nervous breakdown were traceable to a sense of guilt for which the patient had unconsciously attempted to compensate by hectic overwork. The patient attributed his breakdown not to the sense of guilt but to his overworked condition. But, said the physician, this man need not have broken down from overwork if first the sense of guilt has been fully released. Peace of mind under such circumstances is available by easing the guilt as well as the tension it produced to the healing therapy of cherished. At a resort hotel where I had gone for a few days of quiet writing, I encountered a man from New York whom I knew slightly. He was a high-pressure, hard-driving, and accidentally nervous business executive. He was sitting in the sun in a deck chair. At his invitation, I sat down and chatted with him. I am glad to see you relaxing in this beautiful spot, I commented. He replied nervously, I haven't any business being there. I have so much work to do at home. I am under terrible pressure. Things have gone me down. I am nervous and can't sleep. I am jumpy. My wife insisted that I come down here for a week. That the doctors say there is nothing wrong with me. If I just get to thinking right and relax, but how in the world do you do that? He challenged. Then he gave me a piteous look. Doctor, he said, I would give anything if I could be peaceful and quiet. It's what I want more than anything in the world. We talked a bit and it came out in the conversation that he was always worrying that something sinister was going to happen. For years he had anticipated some rare event, living in constant apprehension about something happening to his wife or his children or his home. It was not difficult to analyze his case. His insecurity arose from a double source, from childhood insecurities and from later guilty experiences. His mother had always felt that something was going to happen, and he had observed her anxiety feeling. Later, he committed some sins, and his subconscious mind insisted upon self-punishment. He became victim to the mechanism of self-punishment. As a result of this unhappy combination, I found him this day in a highly inflamed stage of nervous reaction. Finishing our conversation, I stood beside his chair a moment. There was no one near, so I rather hesitantly suggested, would you by any chance like me to pray with you? He nodded, and I put my hand on his shoulder and prayed, dear Jesus, as you healed people in the long ago and give them peace, heal this man now, give him fully of their forgiveness, help him to forgive himself, separate him from all his sins, and let him know that you do not hold them against you. Set him free from them, then let the peace flow into his mind and into his soul and into his body. He looked up at me with a strange look on his face and then turned away, for there were tears in his eyes and he did not want me to see them. We were both a bit embarrassed, and I left him. Months later, I met him, and he said, something happened to me down there that day. When you cared for me, I felt a strange sense of quietness and peace, and he added, healing. He goes to church regularly now, and he reads the Bible every time of his life. He follows the laws of God, and he has lots of driving force. He is a healthy, happy man, for he has peace in his heart and mind. Chapter 3. How to have constant energy. A Major League Baseball pitcher once pitched a game when the temperature was over 100 degrees. He lost several pounds as a result of the afternoon's exertions. At one stage of the game, his energy sucked. His method for restoring his ebbing strength was unique. He simply repeated a passage from the Old Testament. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Frank Hiller, the preacher who had this experience, told me that reciting these words on the preacher's mount actually gave him a renewal of strength so that he was able to complete the game with energy to spare. He explained the technique by saying, I passed a powerful energy producing thought through my mind. How we think, we feel has a definite effect on how we actually feel physically. If your mind tells you that you are tired, the body mechanism, the nerves and the muscles accept the fact. If your mind is intensely interested, you can keep on at an activity indefinitely. Religious functions through our thoughts. In fact, it is a system of thought discipline. By supplying attitudes of faith to the mind, it can increase energy. It helps you to accomplish prodigious activity by suggesting that you have ample support and resources of power. A friend in Connecticut an energetic man full of vitality and vigor says that he goes to church regularly to get his batteries recharged. His concept is sound. What is the source of all energy? Energy is in the universe. Atomic energy, electrical energy, and spiritual energy. Indeed, every form of energy derives from the Creator. The Bible emphasizes this point when it says, He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might He increased strength. In another statement, Bible describes the energizing and re-energizing process. In Him we live, that is, have vitality and move, have dramatic energy, and have our being attain completeness. Contact with God establishes within us a flow of the same type of energy that recreates the world and that renews springtime every year. When in spiritual contact with God through our thought processes, the divine energy flows toward the personality, automatically renewing the original creative act. When contact with the divine energy is broken, the personality gradually becomes depleted in body, mind, and spirit. An electric clock connected with an outlet does not run down and will continue indefinitely to keep accurate time. Unplug it and the clock stops. It has lost connect with the power flowing through the universe. In general, this process is operative in human experience, though in a less mechanical manner. A number of years ago, I attended a lecture at which a speaker asserted before a large audience that he had not been tired in 30 years. He explained that 30 years before he had passed through a spiritual experience in which by self-surrender he had made contact with divine power. From then on, he possessed sufficient energy for all of his activity, and these were prodigious. So he so obviously illustrated his techniques that everyone in that vast audience was profoundly impressed. To me, it was a revelation of the fact that in our consciousness we can tap our reservoir of boundless power, as a result of which it is not necessary to suffer depletion of energy. For years I have studied and experimental with the ideas which the speaker outlined and which others have expounded and demonstrated, and it is my conviction that the principle of Christianity, scientifically utilized, can develop an uninterrupted and continuous flow of energy into the human mind and body. These findings were corroborated by a prominent physician with whom I was discussing, a certain man whom we both know. This man, whose responsibilities was very heavy, works from morning until night without interruption, but always seems able to assume new obligations. He has the knack of handling his work easily and with efficiency. I commented to the physician that I hoped this man was not sitting a dangerous pitch that might possibly lead to a breakdown. This physician shook his head. No, he replied, As his physician, I do not think there was any danger of the checkup, and the reason is that he is thoroughly well organized individual with no energy lacks in his makeup. He operates a well-regulated machines. He handles things with easy power and carries burdens without strain. He never wasted any source of energy, but every effort is applied with maximum force. How do you account? Thanks for watching. Hope you like the video. Please subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon.